It's Thanksgiving this week, a US tradition that legend has it in the 16th century, while eating a goose, Queen Elizabeth heard the news that the Spanish ships had sunk on their way to England. Thrilled with the news, she ordered one more goose. Inspired by this, early settlers decided to roast a turkey. Welcome to Kaleidoscope, where we are positive, daring, different. On the show today, we are meeting the trendsetter who brought linen back in style, seeing the way forward for investors, and stepping into Ahara for some yummy food. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and like us for more. A massive thank you to our partners on the show, Amari, Srilanka Life, CDB, and The Daily Morning. Thank you.
CDB Hybrid Leasing. Enjoy exclusive interest rate and much more for hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and EV vehicles.
Looking back at the week that was on CDB Snapshot, Sri Lanka's consumer confidence reaches the highest since 2022, with the index of consumer expectations at 45, current conditions at 33, and consumer sentiment at 40 points. The IMF reaches a staff-level agreement, paving the way for Sri Lanka to receive the next tranche of the extended fund facility. The Asian Development Bank approves $200 million to upgrade Sri Lanka's power grid. Only 3% of Sri Lankan citizens engage in entrepreneurship. Tesla CEO Elon Musk is the richest person in history with a net worth of over $334 billion. Afghanistan's Neela Ibrahimi wins the International Children's Peace Prize for her work fighting for the rights of girls in Afghanistan. A conceptual artwork of a banana duct taped to a wall sells for $6.24 million in auction.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome to Srilanka Life News Capsule. Sri Lanka's focus over the last few years has been to move from a place of crisis to some stability. And in this, the primary policy priority was to make sure that the fiscal environment was conducive for growth and investment. Interest rates decreased, the currency became stable, and inflation steady. With the new government in place, what are the priorities in the next few years? Here to discuss is Chayu Damsinghe, Head of Macroeconomic Advisory of Frontier Research. So what are the reforms in priority order that must be implemented if we are to move forward?
So let's answer that in two kind of ways. So one is dealing with the fact that moving into this growth pathway comes with costs and differences of its own. Sri Lanka is an economy that is been consumption-led across for quite some time now. So growth meaning more imports, then how do you deal with the context of more imports? How do you, for example, encourage exports if that is the goal? If it's tourism, how that is the goal? How to deal with the on-ground complexities of all those kinds of mechanisms? How do you deal with the costs of them? That's, I think, one direction of policy change. Reform almost, but policy direction I think the government will look at. But the second will be the general reform areas that Sri Lanka has generally been quite weak in, that is labour reform, land reform, this big scale SOE reform, as well as the newer ones, things like investment that have not really been something, and things like digitalization. So I think those are the areas we have not really seen strong reform progress, not just this government, and I see that not as a issue with policy will or political intentions, but rather as a more structural factor of the Sri Lankan economy and the Sri Lankan society. And dealing with that, I think, is where that reform I would look at.
So how challenging is it going to be to get these reforms off the ground?
I think quite challenging, because fundamentally we've never really done them, right? We have always had some form of labor kind of changes that happen. We've had some form of land changes that happen. And that has happened regardless of who the government in play is, regardless of what their political incentives, political ideology has been. So I don't think that is primarily the driver, but the fact that a lot of the reasons why we haven't moved on these measures, even on things like SOEs, even things like investments, is that the Sri Lankan socio-economic structure, the socio-political structure, the econo-political structure, all of that is kind of geared to maintain status quo, because that is how the system perpetuates itself. It has to maintain itself first. So I think given that, dealing with reforms is not just about putting out a gazette, changing a law, not just the political intention, but also dealing with that complex reality of why that has not been moving for the last multiple decades, and then dealing with the very challenging idea that you are dealing with, essentially restructuring the idea of how Sri Lanka views itself, how Sri Lanka's economy functions, how Sri Lanka's society functions, and that is a very hard thing. It's something that I think will take time to do. I don't think it will not happen. Plenty of countries across the world have seen this change, but it does take time. So I'm not expecting anything overnight, but I do think progress will continue as it has for the last multiple decades. Slow progress, but progress nevertheless.
Do you think the planned reforms are sufficient? If not, what needs to change?
I think some of these planned reforms are things that very much came in from I think the depths of the crisis itself, so from the prior administration itself, and even from before that as well. And the current administration, of course, is continuing plenty of those in at least directionally. Where I see, and I don't see there to be a lot of difference in the way that a lot of these are implemented on the ground. What I do see a lot of difference is the rhetoric on how that's kind of framed to society, and that can help or hinder the way that is accepted by society, because if, from my view, we're talking about something that's a lot more of a restructuring of the way the economy works, restructuring the way the kind of socio-economic, socio-political dynamics work, that is something that rhetoric does play a very big role in. Communication plays a big role in, rhetoric plays a big role in, framing plays a big role in. So there, I think there is, the very fact that the prior administration was voted out means that framing simply did not work, or at least was not suited for that moment, for that time. What does that mean then with the new, is there going to be new kind of framing? There likely has to be, given the new administration has come in, but how will that evolve as the context in which now they have to work in also changes? It is something I will be an open question for me, but something I will look at from that kind of perspective.
And now for a look at our market sketch this week. At the Colombo Stock Exchange, mixed sentiments saw the market move down slightly from recent highs. Oil prices stabilize at $72 per barrel as Israel agrees to a ceasefire deal with Lebanon, and the incoming Trump administration confirms that crude oil will not be exempted from Trump tariffs. Gold prices slipped slightly to $2,640 per ounce levels, with both China and India, the world's two biggest gold buyers, stepping up demand. The 2025 Pirelli calendar is entering its 51st year, and this time the theme is Refresh and Reveal, and puts flesh on focus, stripping away the grandeur and putting true selves on display. About 14 years ago, a young banker and equity analyst, she was at Amber Research and HSBC later, decided to create a bit of a revolution. She made linen clothes fashionable and created a sisterhood of women who were proud to be wearing her everyday off-the-rack clothes. They were seen at work and at parties, at supermarkets, high teas and glam functions. The clothes would fit in everywhere. With Arienti, Denali Kodituaku had created a lifestyle. A former Sri Lanka women's national tennis champion plus multiple age group champion, a member of the Sri Lanka Federation Cup team to New Zealand and captain of the George Mason University team from where she got her economics degree, Denali just opened her second retail store in Negombo, and she's with me today on Kaleidoscope. You did a few revolutionary things with Arienti. First, you made linen clothes very fashionable. You made a very difficult to roll off the tongue brand name, a household name. And third, you made clothes that created almost a sisterhood. What sparked the idea of Arienti? What's your story?
I love clothes and just liked going and checking clothes out. So I think I had a passion for clothes.
How did you start sourcing your stuff?
Okay, so that was very, very challenging because I had absolutely no industry knowledge, and neither did I have too many connections in the industry. I just knew that I wanted to do it and give it a shot. So I went to PETA, sourced the fabric, and then didn't know where to get it stitched. I remember driving miles and miles trying to find small factories where they would stitch small orders. Had no clue that you needed a pattern. I didn't know what a pattern even meant because I had never sewn in my life. So found a few factories. Through that, I realized what the process had to be. So it's been a journey, and it's been fun.
Why did you choose linen?
So linen is not how we started off. We started off doing workwear. And then after a while, we ventured into casual clothing. And in general, I think Arienti, our brand ethos, or our just look and feel, is more comfortable, more timeless, more classic silhouettes. And given that we operate in Sri Lanka, I think it's an obvious choice to get into linen as well, because it's a breathable fabric and it works so well for some classic silhouettes.
What's your unique selling point when it comes to your designs?
Quality and the price point we offer our products at, and the timelessness and the simplicity of our design and the practicality of it, because we would like to give our customer everyday clothes. So they need to be comfortable, they need to be practical.
How difficult was your start? What were the challenges as you ventured on from 2010 to now?
The first big challenge was the fact that I was not from the industry. So it was a massive learning curve. Thereafter, I mean, like in any business, there were so many challenges, and there still are so many challenges. But I think the challenges become a part of your daily, your daily work. But luckily for us now, we have a fantastic team that I'm super proud of. So the challenges are taken care of a little faster, and we move forward.
So what were your thoughts behind opening your retail store in Negombo?
So we did some research and of course our own online data, and there were lots of customers coming in from the Negombo area. So we thought obviously it'll be nice to have an outlet there where they could actually come and wear the clothes and experience Arienti. And so that was one of the main reasons. Plus also, I mean, if you just drive around Negombo, I mean, it's a buzzing town. And just for brand visibility and all of that, I thought it'll be a nice place to set up.
How did you marry your banking experience into your business?
I think it really, really helped being in finance and being an equity analyst as well. The training and the thinking process really helps, because being in apparel is one thing and being in fashion is one thing, but running a business also requires other skills as well. How to manage your finances, how to make your budgets work, all of that. So I think that skill set really helps.
What's your next round of plans?
At Arienti, our head office is in Ratmalana. I mean, we are working on so many different things. At the moment, it's super exciting. So Negombo was a big thing that we had to do this quarter. And in addition to that, we're looking at introducing a lot more product lines going forward. We introduced jewelry this last quarter. It has done really well, very well received by the customers. So like that, we are doing a few more product lines. I'm not going to tell you guys exactly what they're going to be, but looking forward to it.
Good luck, Tinali.
Thank you very much.
Amari Colombo is not just about spectacular views, it's also about the food. And that's what I got to experience when we popped in to the all-day dining restaurant, Ahara, and met with the lovely chef Konkanok Kuttanon, affectionately known as Chef Pear, who is the head chef of Ahara. She prepared 3 signature dishes that will be on the menu at Ahara. This one is the steamed sea bass with lemongrass soup. Let me try. Chef Pear has worked in multiple restaurants in Thailand and Nepal and uses her experiences to blend Thai, Sri Lankan and Japanese flavors using the freshest of local ingredients.
So I try to mix and match every single dish and ingredient, whatever I can find in here, to make my special dish can taste only here in Amari Hotel Colombo.
Amari Colombo also brought in consultant F&B chef Boy across the Onyx Group to add his expert touch to an array of dishes that will be seen across Amari Colombo's menus. Christmas is coming, put on those sleigh bells, and happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week.